Hello everyone and welcome back to Chapter 8, focusing on thought groups for this chapter. Thought groups are these individual pieces or chunks of speech and dialogue that indicate a key idea or concept. And so what we're going to look at in this chapter is how we divide our speech into these individual thought groups, and then how thought groups can help you in your listening comprehension, processing what's being said. The past few chapters we've looked at syllable stress, the stress of syllables according to suffixes. And then in full sentences we talked about function words and content words last chapter. This chapter we're going to look at the full dialogue and how we really focus on these thought groups in terms of how we pause our speech in between thought groups so as to give people time to process what's being said, right? If we recognize these pauses, then we can understand that one thought group is being concluded and a new thought group is being introduced. So listening for these pauses. In written English, we have punctuation, and we'll talk about what punctuation is used in written English, such as commas and periods, to signal the end of a thought group and the beginning of another. Spoken English, however, we use our voices to signal thought group boundaries, the beginning of one and the end of another. And so that's what we're going to look at this chapter, not only for your speaking ability to create these pauses, but in your listening ability, listening comprehension, to pick up on them and to better process what's being said. And this is what fluent speakers do. Fluent speakers organize what they say into what we call thought groups, meaningful groups of words. They don't speak word by word. That's what a beginner would do, and what we all did when we were first learning English in even our native languages. But as we become more fluent, we employ thought groups to better be understood, to be better understood, and then to also comprehend more clearly the main ideas of someone's communication. So we're going to do exercise 1 together on page 73. And here you have the same thought group, if you want, the same sentence or phrase. And you can see in row A, all of the A responses, we have no pauses or no thought group divisions at all. It's just one entire thought group for letter A, but you'll see for letter B, there's a pause there in between what we can assume is one thought group and another, right? That fluent speakers organize their speech into thought groups, and that we use our voice to signal these boundaries, right? This boundary is signaled by a pause in spoken English. So you'll see in category B, same phrases, right? But you have a pause in between thought groups. So for exercise 1, which one do you hear? Do you hear group A, or do you hear group B for each of these recordings, numbers 1 through 6, and just circle A or B? It's just a warm-up, not an assignment, but it's practicing your recognition of these pauses, right? In spoken English, we pause in between thought groups or chunks of thought groups. So let's give it a listen. CD2, track 35, track 34.
Chapter 8, Exercise 1A, page 73.
1. 7 week-long vacations.
2. 3 hour-long exams.
3. 49-cent stamps.
4. Please call me Ben.
5. Who's hiring Julia?
6. Slow. Men working.
All right, so let's go ahead and go through these together. Number 1, 7 week-long vacations. B. Instead of 7 week-long vacations, a vacation that is 7 weeks long, like summer vacation, for example, we have 7 week-long, 1 week-long vacations. So you can see how this is one thought group, and these are 2 thought groups, quantity and then a noun, right, in terms of vacation and how long. So that makes a difference in the meaning, doesn't it? In terms of having a pause and not having a pause. So that's the idea, right? In terms of pauses indicating the end of one thought group and the beginning of another one, and it improves our understanding of what people were trying to say. All right, number 2, 3-hour-long exams. It's very similar to number 1, right? We have a pause. 3-hour-long exams rather than an exam that is 3 hours long, right? 3-hour-long exams. Number 3, 49-cent stamps. 49-cent stamps is the letter A instead of 49-cent stamps. Notice that there's a pause there, but we don't hear a pause, so A is the answer for number 3. For number 4, please call me Ben. Please call me Ben. That's one thought group all together. Instead of, please call me Ben. Please call me Ben. This is saying, hey, call me Ben, right? That is my name, but please call me Ben with a comma here is a command or a suggestion, a request. So very different in meaning between those two. It's very similar to number 5 as well. Number 5, who's hiring Julia? Who's hiring Julia? Meaning who is going to hire Julia instead of asking Julia who's hiring. Who's hiring Julia? We also have a difference in intonation here. We also have a difference in intonation when we separate these 2 thought groups. So that's also helpful. Number 5 was A, and the last one, number 6, slow, men working. Slow, men working. It's B. Slow men working, that means that the men aren't working very fast, right? If this is all one thought group. But here, it's what you would expect to see. A sign would say, you're driving on the freeway or in a residential area, slow, men working, right? As a caution. So thought groups really important, improving our understanding and processing what's being said. And they're also important in how we divide our speech in these thought groups to better communicate more concisely, more clearly what our main idea is. So they'll help you in both ways. They'll help you improve the comprehensibility of other people understanding you, and it'll also improve your understanding of other people when they speak, your ability to comprehend and pick out those various thought groups.